Remember, unlike the SPEC, you can use your notebooks on the final. So if you see a problem talking about transformations, and just like our term 2 final, it's split up by unit, so it'll say this section is now all about unit 8, transformations. We go to our notebook, we take a look at unit 8, transformations. There's all our lesson titles. We have all our notes after that, right? So let's see what it's asking. It says, identify the type of transformation shown, then write a rule to describe each transformation. Okay, so first I have to identify the type of transformation. I can see here we have translations, we have reflections, we have rotations, and we have dilations. We're not going to worry about dilations. You'll learn more about those next year. We're just going to focus on the big 3. Translations, reflections, and rotations. So if I look at this first problem, number 1, what does that look like to you? Does it look like we slid our figure over? Does it look like we flipped our figure? Or does it look like we turned our figure? Turned or flipped? It looks like a flip, right? It looks like this triangle's looking at itself in the mirror, right? What line did we flip this triangle across? The x-axis. I'm starting up top with I, J, K, and then I flip down here to I prime, J prime, K prime. And we can see that the line of reflection, look at our vocab chart, the line in which an image is reflected across is the x-axis. So this is a reflection across the x-axis. That's the first part, identifying what is even going on. So now that I know it's a reflection, what should I do? Well, I should look for the rule of reflections, which was 9.2b. Okay, it's a good thing we have numbers and table of contents and all this good stuff. 9.2b, where would that be? There's 9.1b, it must be after that. 9.2a. Hey, look at that, 9.2b, the rule of reflections, right up there on the top. So with reflections, we have 2 types. We can reflect on the x, we can reflect on the y. Here's the rule for each one. Which axis did we reflect across again? The x. So my rule is x, comma, negative y. X, comma, negative y. That's it. Does that make sense? I feel like a lot of times we either forget or just have never been taught and don't know how to use our notebooks correctly. It's partially on me. I guess I assumed you guys knew how, but maybe not. That's just an example of how we can use it, right? I don't give you a table of contents just so I can waste paper and glue. I do it so that you can find where to go a lot easier, right? It tells you transformation and rule. Well, now you already know which 3 specific lessons you might be looking at. Rule, translation, rule of reflections, rule of rotations. Okay. Number 2, does this look like a reflection to you? No, it does not look like QRS is looking in the mirror. Does it look like we rotated this triangle at all? No, it looks like they're in the same position. My S is pointing to the right. My S prime is pointing to the right. So what type of transformation do we have in number 2? A translation. Thank you, Jackie. A translation. Okay, now I've got to write the rule of a translation. Rule of translations is 9.1b. Boom, boom, boom. There is 9.1b. So if you remember with translations, we have an X movement and a Y movement. We're either going to move our shape right or left, and we're going to move our shape up or down. Okay? So let's just figure out what the translation is. Am I starting on the left or the right? Starting on the left. How can we tell we're starting on the left? The left points don't have primes. This is my pre-image. This is my image, R prime, S prime, Q prime. So I'm going to start here, work my way over there. So let's just pick a point. I'll start at R. If I want to map my way over to R prime, do I have to go to the right or to the left? to the right. Now we count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces to the right. Everybody with me so far? Bless you. Okay. Am I going to go up or down now? Down. How many spaces down? 2. Okay. So we went 8 right. We went 2 down. Going right is a positive X movement. Going down is a negative Y movement. Positive X, negative Y. So what we're going to write for the rule, if you remember, I'm going to look down at this example. If we went right and down, we've got X plus that number, comma, Y minus that number. The rule that we're writing for all of these is just how are we changing the coordinates of our pre-image when compared to our image. So if we went right 8, is that going to be plus 8 or minus 8? Plus 8. If we went down 2, is that plus 2 or minus 2? Minus 2. There's our rule for the translation. This is why I've been saying all week, we have to have our notebooks with us, even if we started a new one. And all these notes are in our old notebook. We have to be bringing that old notebook. Just this week. After this week, you can set it on fire, throw it away, I don't care. But for this week, it's really important you have those notes. Because when you raise your hand during the final and say, wait, what's a reflection again? I'm just going to shrug and walk away. Okay? I know that sounds harsh, but...
Wait, so next week we don't really need our backpacks?
I mean, you should still bring your backpacks. You won't need anything like math related. But yeah. Now the last week of school, I don't really think you need your backpacks. Typically people bring like little bags or purses or whatever. You know. Boys bring like those drawstring PE bags. Because what do you need your notebook for? On the last week of school, you know what I mean? Just gonna be watching Wall-E and stuff. All right, anyway, we'll talk about all that later. We gotta focus. Number 3. Does it look like a reflection in number 3? No, definitely not. It's a weird looking mirror if that's a reflection. Does this look like we just took GHI and moved it up and over? No, because our orientation has changed. So it's not going to be a flip. It's going to be a turn, a rotation. This is a rotation. Now, is there only one type of rotation? No, there's 3. So we're going to go back to our notebooks. I don't even know where to go for rotations. Let me see. 9.3b is the rule of rotations. You guys okay?
Yeah.
Okay. 9.3b, rule of rotations. Look at that. We got nice, big, bold Rule 1, Rule 2, and Rule 3. Okay. Very nice. Perfect. So, let's figure out where we were.
Can we use that sheet for this?
You could, totally. Yeah, you could use the transparent slide if you still have it. Do I have mine? See if my pocket worked out. Come on. I do not. I'm like most of you. It is long gone. I've picked up like 30 of them off the floor since we got them. So if you don't have that, it's okay. We have our notes. So this is either 90 degrees clockwise, 90 degrees counterclockwise, or 180 degrees. Now, if we look back to the first notes we took about rotating, when we rotated something 90 degrees clockwise, we started here and we went down this way. Technically, it's a turn to the right, and we just moved over one quadrant, right? If we're up here 90 degrees counterclockwise, same thing, except we're turning to the left one space, and we're right down in the next quadrant. A 180 degree rotation is 2 full turns in either direction. So we end up diagonal across the graph from our original shape. So does this look like we did 1 turn or 2 full turns here in number 3? Just 1 turn. So I know it's a 90 degree rotation. Now I've got to figure out if it's clockwise or counterclockwise. That arrow that I drew from start to finish, is that the direction the hands of that clock are moving up there? No, it's the opposite. Clock would move this way. So what direction are we rotating this figure? Counter clockwise. This is a 90-degree counterclockwise rotation. So what's the rule? Well, rule number 2 states for a 90-degree counterclockwise rotation, we go from xy to negative y, comma, x. We flip the sign of our y and swap the x in the y's place. So the rule, negative y, comma, x. Nothing we need to change. The only rule that we kind of edit is the translation. Right? Because we're moving a certain number of spaces. So those are those 3. Reflection, boom. Translation, number 2. And rotation, number 3. So now let's speed through the last 3. What do we have in number 4? What's the transformation here? Reflection. Okay. Across which axis? The y-axis this time. See how we go from ABC to A prime, B prime, C prime? And it looks like it's looking in the mirror. That's a reflection across the y-axis. What is the rule for a y-axis reflection? Negative x, comma, y. Right here in our notes. Negative x, comma, y. Moving down, number 5. What's the transformation here? Translation. It looks like we just slid this figure up and over. Are we going to start at the bottom triangle or the top triangle? We're going to start at the bottom. There's no prime coordinates. So let's say I'm going to start at point C. It doesn't matter what point we count from. I know I'm going to do something to my x, and I'm going to do something to my y. If I'm starting at C, working my way to C prime, do I have to go right or left? Right. How many spaces right? 1. So is that going to be x plus 1 or x minus 1? Plus 1. Perfect. From here, how many spaces do I go up? 3. Is that y plus 3 or y minus 3? Plus 3. There's my rule for that translation. Always go left or right first because your change in x is going to be written in the rule first, then go up or down. Finally, number 6. Is this a translation, reflection, or a rotation? Rotation, for sure. Did we go 1 turn or did we go 2 full turns? 2. So how many degrees is this rotation? 180 degrees. I can take a look at what the rule for that is. It is rule number 3. Negative x, comma, negative y. Negative x, comma, negative y. So on the final, you'll have to recognize what is the transformation I'm even looking at right now, and then you will select the answer of what rule matches up with that transformation. If you don't have your notebooks with you, it will be a lot more difficult to figure it out. If you have your notebooks, super easy. You can use those, yeah. It's on the Chromebook. It'll be a locked quiz on the Chromebook. Like a Google form.
And it's with 100 points, right?
Yeah.
Wait, are we gonna get our responses back in
At the
or like you're gonna grade it?
it automatically grades it, but I won't release the right and wrong until the following week.